recording now. All right, welcome everyone to Michelle Hoffmann's Liner Notes. This is advice that matters. Liner notes are the insight the artists or curators offer into what's really going on at the time of creation, whether it be a masterpiece that's a work of art, a work of authorship, or a work of meaningful giving in the world, whatever it is. The liner notes tell us what inspired the recording to be what it is and what was going on with the artist and what was going on during that time. Michelle Hoffmann's liner notes is imperative insight and curated wisdom you need to inspire you to unblock your potential. In a changing world, you can find your unique path to create balance and enjoy an abundant life with all the resources you need. I help CEOs and business owners focus on their zone of genius, giving them back the time that they need to be creative and inspired, and also increase all the income that they need by helping their managers develop high-performing teams to hit the revenue goals every single time. Discover how I can help you and your company succeed at lightthesparklady@gmail.com. lightthesparklady@gmail.com. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to somebody who is going to knock your socks off and bring you the revenue that you've always dreamed of. Faizun Kamal is the best-selling author of The Right Franchise for You. That says it all. But this is really the way to escape the 9-to-5, generate the wealth and that you are hoping and dreaming for, and live life on your terms. So Faizun, thank you so much for joining me today on Liner Notes. Will you tell us a little bit about who you help and what you do to help them?
Wonderful. Michelle, it's such a delight to be here with you, my friend. Really, really excited. Yes. So I am a franchise coach, Michelle. And as you know, you said the title of my book, The Right Franchise for You. I typically work with corporate executives who, for whatever reason, they may have gotten laid off. They may be furloughed, something that we see has been happening in the last couple of months during the pandemic, certainly. But executives who are at a point in their lives where they're saying, I no longer want to continue to be an employee.
Very good.
Done, right? I've spent X years doing ABC and I'm fried, I'm burnt out. I am ready to do something finally on my terms. I think a business may be the way for me to go, but I don't quite know where to begin. I don't know how to do this. Can you help me find the right franchise business for me?
Right. Because doing the right thing right, especially at a turning point in your life, will catapult you to, beyond your wildest dreams. But doing the wrong thing right or doing the right thing wrong is never a win. So
well put. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
When somebody comes to you and says, Faizun, can you help me figure out if this is the right thing for me? What would be like you waved a magic wand and dream came true because they worked with you?
Really the end goal here is simple, but it's not easy. The end goal here is you are a unique individual and you've come to me. I work with several hundred of the most well-known, robust franchise brands in the world. Now, but there's only one of you. Right. So where does the matching begin, right? What are those unique characteristics of that particular business that is a fit, that is a match with who you, Michelle, are? And it includes, what are your skill sets? What are your strengths? What are your superpowers, as I call them, right? Conversely, what are your blind spots? What are those things that you would rather have pay someone than do those things? Because we all have those weaknesses, those blind spots, those things that we don't want to do. And unlike a job, Michelle, where, think about it, my friend, all of us have been employees in a prior life, right? All of us. You have the job description, and most times we are trying to force fit ourselves into the job description, are we not? Think about
Right.
it, right? So 9 out of 10 things, you're like, yeah, I can do them. That 10th thing,
Yeah, I can do it.
I can do it. Yeah, I'll YouTube it, I'll Google, I can do it.
Right.
When you are looking at a franchise opportunity, however, Michelle,
It's a
I say
whole
to my
thing.
clients, flip the script, my friend. You completely flip the script. Where? The business must fit you where you are right now. Not
Nice.
5 years from now, not 10 years from now. No, it has to fit Michelle with her skill sets where she is in her life right now. So, this force fitting yourself, we are done with that. That is the thing of the past. And clients absolutely love that, because if you think about it, for the first time in their lives, they're coming to the table on an equal footing. It's not employers here, you are there. This is how it is. And it truly becomes a conversation between equals to say, hey, I'm exploring you, ABC brand. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do to see if I am going to be the perfect fit for you, and vice versa?
That does change everything. I wonder if how the world would be different, or how our lives would be different, if we, instead of forced ourselves into things, I don't know, clothes are coming to mind to me for a moment, but
I hear you.
rather if we were shoving ourselves into a box, let's say, that we had the box custom fit to fit us,
Oh, I
and
love that.
whatever pieces were out of balance. I always say you stretch your strengths and strengthen your weaknesses for proper balance when I'm working with my clients.
Love
And
that.
if for some reason there's something that is, like you were saying, a weakness or a kryptonite, if it's superpowers to kryptonite, or if it's just something you don't love to do that piece, to fill that
Yes.
vulnerability, because literally those are the vulnerabilities. If you can, and it's really hard to look at what, I mean, it's easy to see, oh, our
Oh, yeah.
this, our superpowers are this, but to have somebody actually and diplomatically help us identify where our weaknesses are, to fill those gaps so that we do have proper balance, and that we can then find the right franchise in this case that fits us and our life. Then, I mean, that changes everything. You're not walking around in uncomfortable shoes.
What a beautiful analogy, right? And it's, something I've always said to my clients. Think about it, Michelle. The average employee, we spend far more hours at work with our colleagues, with our bosses, than we
Right,
do with our own families over
right,
the course of your life. And if you think of, the average job span, however many years that's going to be for you, if you are not in your zone of genius, if you are not doing work that is not only professionally fulfilling, but is also personally meaningful to you, think of how much joy you're leaving on the table, so to speak.
right. And we only have one precious life to live. So why would we spend it any other way than
Absolutely right.
making a positive impact, both professionally and personally, which then you're living in your zone of genius,
Absolutely.
totally inspired. Then when you do get to come home and spend
Absolutely.
time with your family, it's quality time.
And
And
by the way, this is the thing, Michelle. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, my friend. When you have a bad day at work, or you are in a bad job, you're in a toxic situation with a boss who's crazy and colleagues who you would rather run away from, and this is what you are in all day every day. When you come back home, my friend, you don't leave those things behind.
right,
You bring them home with you. I know this because I lived it for
right. Oh,
many years.
really?
Many years. We all have, right?
How did you, okay, that brings up a good question then. If you lived it with a toxic environment at work and colleagues who were not inspiring you to either be your best self. I mean, one of my favorite things in the workplace is to really identify talents in employees and go, you can do so much more. if you'd like to. And so when we help like career trajectories, and it's like, what skills do you need to fill the gap to get from here to there? And if you don't do that, then you don't have an engaged team. And if you don't do that, then you can't make the numbers. And if
That's
you don't do that, you have a toxic environment and you have colleagues who are disengaged, and it's no fun. And you're
right.
right, you don't leave it at work because all of that sits on you and weighs down. And then you come home and suddenly you're cheerful and no. So is this the experience that you had? I mean, you can leave out the singing, but sorry.
I really love singing. You don't want to hear me sing. You know, here's the thing. Before I got into the world of franchising, Michelle, I was in the corporate world. Um, it was a Fortune 15 company. It's an American iconic brand. We all know it by name. I had a fantastic position. I worked with a great team of people. For me, this was my situation. It wasn't so much that I had a bad boss. It wasn't so much that I had colleagues I didn't care for. That was not my story. My story was I was the misfit with my job.
Very interesting.
My position, the work that I was doing, was not my path. And I had felt that for a very long time, Michelle. In all of the different things that I had done, I'd always felt there was something else out there that was me, that was mine, but I just didn't know what it was. And so, 8.5 years in
Oh.
corporate later, I know, right? How time flies. And
So I say this as, you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning going, there must be something more. There must be something more. So
I
8.5 years later of that.
yes, yes, yes. And the amazing thing was life takes over, right? It was a great
Oh, yeah.
I
Just
was
whatever's in
constantly
front of you
growing.
that needs to be
Yeah,
addressed
right.
first,
It
get
almost
directly on
becomes
to
you're on the
drive it.
on the wheel. You keep going, right? Um, it, got married, had a baby, health insurance, bought a house, right? All that
Those are
stuff, fun
great
stuff.
life celebrations. I
Uh,
was thinking more along the lines of, I need immediate satisfaction because I just can't endure the long run. But I kind of love your life celebrations.
well, I mean, I think here's the thing, my friend. It's unfortunately, as human beings, we can pretty much get used to anything. Think about it.
We are very adaptable.
The
Yeah.
good and the bad. This is the bad part. The good is great, but even the stuff that is not as great, we find ways to tell ourselves, I can keep going. I can keep doing this. So for me, it was, we need the health insurance.
Oh,
Just had a new baby.
right.
Mortgage payments, right? Those were the little voices in my head that said, well, Faizun, you have to continue. So it wasn't until I got to a point. Sorry, you're going to ask me something.
Well, you're so nice. Um, the voice in your head is saying, I need to provide stability for my loved ones. And to provide stability for my loved ones, it sounds like what was going through your head is, I must fit into these uncomfortable shoes. I must continue to fit into this box.
It is okay if my soul dies a little bit every day, because after all, I'm providing for my family, right? I mean, why would I not? And so and I can say this to you, Michelle, now in retrospect, my friend.
Yeah.
But when I was in the moment, you could not have dissuaded me from the path I was on.
No.
Because I needed to.
Well, there's also, how were you raised, and there's integrity, and it's your value systems that you bring to work each day. And I'm absolutely certain they benefited from having you in that role, and having your value system add to the values of not only what you brought to the office each day, but to your team, and then to add to the portfolio of values and meaningful things that are represented by the organization.
Yes.
So, okay, I see. It would be hard to dissuade you at that moment because you were on a path that you were told your whole life is the right way to go.
Well, my friend, look, and again, this opens up another can of worms. I'm an immigrant. I left everyone I knew and everything I knew and came to this country when I was 17 years old with a beta battered green suitcase that my mother gave me. I still have it, by the way.
Yeah.
Father gave me $100 in cash. That was all the money I had. And I came here to build a life for myself. Now, I was an undergrad. But my point is, of course, there are certain values that we are all imbued with from our families. And I was, for all intents and purposes, anybody looking at me from the outside would say, oh my gosh, Faizun, you are living the American dream.
Right.
Only I knew what it was inside, right?
Right. It's very hard to look at other people because and not see what's really happening, because
Yes.
what we're looking for is, oh, it's so easy for that person, or they have it,
Fall
they've
into
got
that.
it all going on. But we know, what is it like, a duck on the water? They're just gliding, it looks so smooth.
That's right. You don't see the
Underwater,
lift.
they're paddling like crazy. And I think we all do that. We all do that. So here you are, you're making it look good on the outside, but underneath you're paddling like crazy. Go on.
Um, get laid off. My boss
Oh,
comes to me
so
and
it's
says,
you and your green
Faizun,
battered suitcase again, out the door.
yep. But here's what happened. It wasn't even a blessing in disguise. It was a straight up blessing.
Yeah.
Now, I had sensed it for a while. I could read the writing on the wall. I knew what was happening, the changes in the industry. So when the time came, I had prepared myself and I left. What I hadn't prepared myself for was, being laid off is a uniquely challenging thing that none of us can prepare ourselves for. Think about it.
Any major life role change.
True,
So
true.
uh, I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. And I believe that we go through these developmental stages in our lives. And whether it's becoming a teenager, ooh, that's a hard one, for every single one of us, moving out and becoming independent in any which way that we make that effort. If we decide to partner with someone, if we decide to welcome children into our lives, or, family related by blood or love, um, into our lives. And it's also letting those people free up to go on to their next thing. Moving communities, if you're getting a new job, changing your identity all along the way, losing a loved one. Of course, I know that intimately, by helping parents who have lost a spouse, figure out how to parent alone and have dreams of their own. And any of those things are these major life role changes where, as you beautifully described, you're basically walking from one part of your life to another with your battered green suitcase and a few $100 if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
So you are now realizing that there are opportunities in change. And what did you do?
For me, I think the really huge transition point, Michelle, came when I said to myself, clear as day, Faizun, you have to stop looking for happiness where you lost it.
Oh, well, I didn't expect this. Keep going.
Right?
Okay.
Why was I even thinking about going back into the corporate world? But this is what I mean. We get lulled, right? We get used to both the good and the bad. I immediately, as soon as I got laid off, I immediately went into a job search, like everybody else we know. And then a couple months into it, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Why am I intentionally trying to get back into the world where I lost my happiness?
Right.
And I'm still looking for it, but I'm going back to that same place. This is crazy talk. That is where it really shifted for me. One thing led to another. I found this world of franchising. And it's interesting. We use the phrase American dream lightly, and I don't think we should. Because for the first time in my life, interestingly enough, I was a corporate executive. I never felt I was living the American dream. Not until I started my business in franchise consulting. Because really, my life now, Michelle, and my life as a corporate executive, night and day, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Night and day, right? Where I now run a business on my schedule. My business runs around my family, around my child.
Mhm.
It's not the other way around, which is what it is for most people who have a job. Job comes first, family comes second. And I had done that for so many years, and I said, "No, not anymore, not in this iteration."
So this is how you came to franchise consulting. What are the tips and tools that you share with the corporate executives who are ready to make that major uh, life role change? How do you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The very first thing, Michelle, and I get this from literally every other person I speak to. Number one, you have got to believe that there are options, viable options out there for you. What something I get in that first call with somebody who reaches out to me, it goes something like this. Faizun, I have been a VP of marketing for 22 years at ABC company. I mean, is there really a franchise out there for somebody like me with my marketing background? It's this sort of notion that you are beyond all salvation. There is nothing out there for you. I want people to know absolutely that is a myth that you are living with. I say this half jokingly, but very seriously at the same time. I don't know who you are. I don't know what your story is. I can almost guarantee you there is a franchise opportunity out there for you because this industry that I am in is so rich and so diverse.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That would be a first thing that I would share.
So do you have a couple of, it's there, that's the number one, I got it, that no matter who you are, there is a fit for you. And then how do you help them? Do you help them match the fit?
Absolutely. So I take them through, and I talk about this in great detail in my book, which you mentioned. Um, I take them through a 6-step process, Michelle. And essentially think of it as it begins internally. It begins with a deep assessment of who you are, what your skill sets are, what your blind spots are, what are
Right.
those things that you want to do, what are some things that you want to avoid. Put very simply, once I get that baseline on you, we take a deeper dive. So you go through a series of psychometric skills assessments, management assessments. We go through all of that stuff so that I get really, if you will, a full detailed picture of who Michelle is.
You're not kidding. Go on.
My friend, because it's, think
This
about
is
it
a
again.
really legitimate process.
It is not only a legitimate process. It's, we have placed hundreds and hundreds of corporate executives successfully into businesses that they're now running as franchisees.
This is a serious matchmaking process, and
This is, yeah,
understanding the depth of your client will really ensure the longevity and success of the match that you're connecting. All right. So we have identified our superpowers, our skills, our blind spots, the things we like, the things we don't like. And then there's the psychometric and the management assessment. So we really know, one, who we are and what we want to engage in. That in
absolutely.
so much time of our life that it's more time that we spend with our families. Okay, go on.
Exactly. Once that initial baseline work is done with you, the client, I then move into the introduction piece of it. And this is where I will pick a handful of businesses in inventory that I have, businesses whose profiles most closely matches yours.
Nice.
It's a very intentional process. Remember, every step builds on the one that came before.
Mhm.
And so then I introduce you to the brands. The brands, when I introduce you to them, at that point, I have given them a lot of information that I have now gathered on you. And I say, ABC brand, for these reasons, I believe Michelle is potentially a great fit within your particular system. The brands then reach out to you. And the process, Michelle, it's deceptively simple, my friend, but it is incredibly effective.
Right.
Every week, you, the client, will have one call with every brand I introduce you to. And with each call, the brands are going to do a deep dive into various aspects of their business model that you, as a potential franchisee, needs to know about. Every week, you and I are going to have a touch base. This is your fourth call every week. And this is my opportunity to make sure you are tracking in the right direction. You're not jumping out and doing crazy stuff. And essentially, you're following process. This process only works if you work the process.
Right. So also, not only are you guiding them to understand who they are, who your client is, you're giving them an idea of figuring out their strengths, their weaknesses, how to fill those so that there's no gaps, no vulnerabilities. Then you connect them with the brands who then present, but you're also there to check, I mean, holding their hand the whole way so that they're not going off the deep end or flying into something too fast that could then ultimately, rather than making a really good business and investment move, leave them much worse off than when they
It's
started.
better.
And that, I mean, that alone is worth having a conversation with you.
I mean, Michelle, do you know how many people I get who end up becoming clients where their work with me is iteration number 2? They went into a franchise by themselves,
I don't know what iteration number 1 is.
right? They went into, they got in, they found a brand, they did whatever they did by themselves. They invested a significant amount of money. X months, X years later, they have lost their entire investment.
Ugh,
Why? The business was never the right fit for them.
right.
And so then they find me and they come to me. And you know, one of the things, Michelle, it's interesting. It's like anything else, my friend. If I have an appendicitis that is about to burst, I am not going to lay myself on the kitchen table and take a knife to my stomach.
No, oh my God, this metaphor.
I intentionally use this, Michelle, because the reality is, my friend, you go to the expert when you need something done
Right.
correctly. You know, in the world of fine tailoring, there's a phrase
Yeah.
that they use:
Yes.
measure twice,
Yeah.
cut once.
Right.
When you work with me, we measure twice, we measure 3 times, but we will cut only once.
And that's where the work really begins. But at least you know you are you as a person, as a professional, and it sounds like you actually customize based on all of that background. You're helping them customize who they are today and who they wish to become, and then match them to the right fit. So they're
100.
not going into the wrong
No,
direction.
no.
So really helping to clear that path and put the light, shine the light right on it. So they are going to the right target. Brilliant, brilliant. What kinds of things, I mean, you just described one very clearly. What kinds of things could be obstacles or, go wrong that might be a trigger for someone or a signal to say, you know what? Before I invest more, before I leap and leave my current job, before I, and leave that, the stability of what you do know, even if it's the wrong fit. What's the signal for someone who's ready to make that kind of change so that they know very clearly it's time to reach out to someone like you, Faizun?
You know, Michelle, the best way I can describe it, my friend, is the people who find their way to me,
Mm-hmm.
they're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And it's not your, pop a couple Tylenols, the pain goes. It's not that kind of pain.
Right.
It's a deeper, much more visceral pain that they have lived with for many years in some instances.
So it becomes a dull ache that they're not even aware of.
It's a
And rather
dull ache.
than living in a chronic pain, you're going to help them go to a chronic pleasure. Go on.
Exactly, right? It's a dull pain. They're completely disenchanted with the work they do. They come home every day, they bring all of that negative energy back home with them. Many of my clients, they haven't seen their children grow up. Their marriages are not the strongest because they have not been around. They've been traveling all the time. They have become strangers with their own families. In many instances, clients who come to me say, Faizun, I could not retire anytime soon with the kind of money I'm making.
Right.
I am certainly nowhere near retirement should something happen. I can't take care of my family. That's a big, big and deep thing for a lot of people. Other people will say, I am just exhausted. I know I have so much to give. I am barely scratching at the surface of my potential, but I just don't know what it is. These are the kinds of things, Michelle, that when someone starts to feel, may be a good sign to speak with someone like me.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Wow. And Faizun, will you share with us how somebody connects with you?
Sure, absolutely. The best way for someone to connect with me is you can shoot me an email. Very simply, it's Faizun at the franchise consulting company, one word.com.
Okay, so spell that out for us.
Faizun, Faizun at the franchise consulting company, THEFRANCHISE, consultingcompany.com. I am also on LinkedIn. I actually live on LinkedIn. People can connect with me there. I have been told, you can verify this if you and I are not connected on LinkedIn, I'm apparently the only Faizun Kamal on that network. So I'm not super hard to find. I know. But yeah, please, I speak with literally at least between a dozen, 2.5 people every week from all different walks of life. But I think, I'll leave you with this thought, Michelle. For many, many years now, and I believe it even more strongly now, I believe we're in the midst of what I think is probably the biggest silent social epidemic of our times. And
Mm,
it is hundreds and thousands of people who are living lives of quiet desperation.
yeah,
They're in jobs that are a misfit, that they don't enjoy, that they don't like, they're not contributing, and
right.
they feel very hopeless that there's not an option out there. So I hope with our conversation today, the people listening in might start to believe that, yes, there is definitely a viable option out there.
Yeah, and you are just the person to help us understand who we are and how to find the right fit for who we are rather than the fit that we think we should have. So doing the right thing right by connecting with Faizun Kamal to find the right franchise for you. Faizun, thank you so much for joining me on Michelle Hoffman's Liner
It was
Notes
a
today.
delight. It was a
Wow,
delight.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.